Warm welcome. You're watching our coverage of the sixth phase of polling, the second last phase of polling where Uttar Pradesh is concerned. As we speak, viewers, polling is underway in 57 constituencies in Uttar Pradesh, spread across 10 districts. It also includes the district of Gorakhpur and the seat of Gorakhpur Sadar, Gorakhpur Urban, from which stands Yogi Adityanath. Kushinagar, Ambedkar Nagar, Ballia, Deoria and Nagar. These are the various districts that are going to polls this morning. To take you through on all the 10 districts that are going to polls this morning is Gorakhpur, like I told you, Ambedkar Nagar, Balrampur, Nagar, Basti, Sant Kabir Nagar, Maharajganj, Gorakhpur, Deoria, Kushinagar, Ballia. Well, this is the phase where the fate of Yogi Adityanath will be tested this time around. This is the first time he's actually fighting an election, which is a state assembly election. He's held on to the seat of Gorakhpur as an MP, Member of Parliament from 1998. That is 5 terms already. You see that on your television screen. That's Yogi Adityanath casting his ballot. Along with that, many others who are in the fray this time going in to vote, and 10 districts spread with 57 constituencies will be voting today. And this is the 6th phase. After that, one final phase is awaited on the 7th of March. And post that, viewers, the fate of the state of Uttar Pradesh will be sealed. It's been a long drawn election of 7 phases. From staggering from west to the east. It's the final chapter, or like they say, the slog overs of this election being played out. You have Yogi Adityanath there casting his ballot. He went in Gorakhpur. His vote is from Gorakhpur Sadar, and that is where he's casting his vote. I want to cut across right now to my colleague Samarth Srivastav, who's joining us live from Balrampur. Samarth, how does it look like? Good morning. Brisk voting this morning, or going to build up later? What are you picking up?
I'm reporting from Kushinagar district of Uttar Pradesh, and where I'm reporting from, I just want my cameraman to pan the camera at this side of the area, because I can see a lot of women coming out here to cast their vote, especially of Muslim community coming out here to cast their vote. It's around 10:15 a.m. The same line is on since last 2 hours. And why I'm showing you this particular line and the women when burqas, because this Fazil Nagar constituency is a stronghold for MY factor. MY factor plays a very crucial role in Fazil Nagar. And if you talk about the candidates, the Swami Prasad Maurya, the big face of UP politics, is standing for Samajwadi Party, while Kushwaha starting for BJP, while Iltias Ansari, the ex-Samajwadi Party leader, is standing for BSP. So the entire area is being dominated by Muslims, number 2 Yadavs and Dalits as well. It is going to be worth seeing that MY is going to which phase, because Iltias Ansari is ex-Samajwadi Party leader, and Mayawati has played a tactic politics by placing him against Swami Prasad Maurya. But what we are getting from ground, from travelling entire Uttar Pradesh, this Fazil Nagar constituency and Kushinagar, in this election of Uttar Pradesh, we are not seeing Muslim vote getting dispersed to other parties. It's going around, I can say 85 to 90% vote of Muslim community is going towards Samajwadi Party. I also spoke to various persons out here, be it villagers, be it workers, be it people from the urban areas. They are clear with the mindset and are saying that they are going to wait on the name of Swami Prasad Maurya in this constituency, while on the state level, they are looking for Akhilesh Yadav. I'm talking this about the Muslim community. They are not concerned about what candidate, because Iltias Ansari might be a big name for this, but he has lost in Fazil Nagar constituency on the name of Samajwadi Party since last 2 elections. And when India Today TV spoke to Swami Prasad Maurya that why you changed, why you switched from Padrona seat to this, he clearly said that Swami Prasad Maurya is somebody who takes risk. He said that as Samajwadi Party was losing since last 2 times in Fazil Nagar, that's why I changed my gear from Padrona to Fazil Nagar. While on the other hand, in the political circle of Uttar Pradesh, the talks are on because once RPN Singh of Congress went to BJP, because Kushinagar is the stronghold of RPN Singh, though he's not fighting on the BJP ticket, but his influence is all around the Padrona Vidhan Sabha seat in Kushinagar, and that could be the reason why Swami Prasad Maurya played safe and went to this Fazil Nagar seat. So these are all the points of discussion, but what we are getting from ground, a lot of women, especially of Muslim community, are coming here in Fazil Nagar Vidhan Sabha to cast their vote, and they are going, as we spoke to many of them, they have complained about the road construction, they have complained about the unemployment and various other issues. But when we see the bigger picture about the Yogi government, it is the law and order which is the backbone of this government and is the major factor. Apart, though we know UP is all about caste politics, be it Kurmi, Maurya, OBC, Dalit, these all play a vital role. But when we see the bigger picture in urban areas or in rural areas, people are free to roam around, be it in villages, be it during night in rural or urban areas. But on the other hand, we see Akhilesh Yadav claiming if law and order is that good, why incidents like Unnao, Hathras, Lakhimpur take place and a gangster like Dhananjay Singh plays cricket in the free field. So these are the things which are making this elections very interesting. And I also want to add that Yogi Adityanath few minutes back in Gorakhpur has said that BJP is going to get around 250 to 300 seats. So this number has come down to 250. In Hindi we can see he used the term Paune 300. So this is a big remark coming from Yogi Adityanath, as we haven't seen any such remark from any BJP leader. Amit Shah clearly said 300 par. Prime Minister during his rally said 300 par. Yogi Adityanath too added to the echo saying 300 par. But this is for the first time when Yogi Adityanath from Gorakhpur has said Paune 300, around 250. So this is something when UP CM himself is saying that yes, accepting that yes, the competition is on. Because see, when Mulayam Singh Yadav used to do politics in UP, he had a formula. He was not just the MY factor leader. He was called, in Hindi we say, Pichhda. He was a Pichhda Neta. So he used to add on all the caste communities together. And this is something Akhilesh Yadav used this time. He used the phenomena of Mulayam Singh Yadav and added on all small caste, all small leaders together, be it Om Prakash Rajbhar, be it Krishna Patel. He tried to add on some Nishad leaders too. But this is a bigger picture of what we are seeing from ground. And I also want to add on that there is a slight difference in the politics of Mulayam Singh and Akhilesh Yadav. Mulayam Singh was somebody who used to take support from Atiq Ahmed Mukhtar Ansari and believed in the gangster politics, which is already still on in Mau and Ghazipur areas. But Akhilesh Yadav has a different thinking. He is not allowing DP Yadav, Mukhtar Ansari's son or anybody else. So this is what I'm trying to say from the ground. But for a bigger picture, this election is going to be a neck-to-neck competition from the ground. And yes, at one hand, Yogi government is patting their back for law and order, while on the other hand, Akhilesh Yadav could be seen as a progressive leader. As per the political pundits, it's going to be a very tough fight. And after 5 phases from the ground, we are unable to predict whosoever and which party is going to win this particular election. Yes.
All right, Samarth, stay on with me. That's quite a detailed analysis of from where you are reporting right now, the district of Balrampur. But we're going to cut across right now to Kumar Kunal, who's joining us from Maharajganj at this point of time. Kumar, give us a brief on where you're standing on the district there. Very good morning. Brisk voting happening behind you, it seems.
Yeah, quite brisk voting is going all around this area. Maharajpur, I went to several of the booths in almost 3 constituencies, and I found that on every booth there is brisk voting which is happening, and that is quite remarkable. Even in the earlier phases, we found that such voting is happening across the state, and the same pictures we are getting here at Maharajganj. Maharajganj is very important, not just because this is a stronghold of BJP. Last time in 2019 elections, the MP in the Member of Parliament elections, this seat was won by 3,40,000 victory margin by the BJP candidate, who is now the Minister of Finance, Minister of State for Finance, Pankaj Chaudhary. He just voted at the same booth where I am standing right now. But the mood which is resonating in this area, the area which is quite near to the Gorakhpur, it is just 40-45 kilometers from Gorakhpur, from where Yogi Adityanath himself is contesting, and it is considered that since Chief Minister is contesting from Gorakhpur, so the impact of that candidature will be seen on other seats as well, and in the nearby areas, especially in Maharajganj, which is considered as a stronghold of BJP. But this time, the election, the contest is quite interesting. We have seen there are so many rebels within the BJP who are actually, they are challenging the party. They are the bigger challenge rather than the opposition party. Opposition parties are there and you can expect a tough fight from the opposition parties. But there are several rebel candidates at several of the Vidhan Sabha seats in this district where they are actually they are creating problems for BJP. So even I asked Pankaj Chaudhary when he came out after voting, I asked how he is looking at the rebel factor in his own district. Since he is union minister, he should have a considerable impact on the overall scenario. The elections were going on, so he also accepted that yes, the rebel factor is there. They are actually the workers from the party, and hence if they are standing, they are contesting, then they are definitely causing some damage to the official candidates of the party. So this is the scenario at Maharajganj. Even you will remember that one of the seats, Nautanwa, it is being contested by Aman Mani Tripathi, the infamous leader. He has won this seat from jail last time as an independent candidate, but this time he is also contesting on BSP ticket. So in entire UP, we have seen a bipolar contest so far. But here in Maharajganj, what I am witnessing that it is a multipolar contest at most of the seats, and even the rebels of BJP and Samajwadi Party, they are having a good chance of winning seats, or even just the calculation of all the political parties are going heavier due to the rebel factor. At this seat where I am standing right now, it is Maharajganj Sadar, it is SC reserved seat. Here also a SP rebel candidate is contesting. Since this seat has been given to Subhaspa, the ally of Samajwadi Party, hence one of the rebel candidates from Samajwadi Party is contesting, and he is contesting quite, his situation is not that weak. He is in the contest, and people are claiming that he might win the seat. So not just BJP, even Samajwadi Party and other parties are facing the rebel factor at Maharajganj, and that's why the path of victory is not easy for anyone here. Even Aman Mani Tripathi, who won the seat as an independent candidate last time, this time even his chances are not that good. He is he has been considered to be he is fighting a triangular fight at least at his constituency Nautanwa. So all these things are panning here at Maharajganj, and the election results on 10th will be quite interesting if the situation which we are witnessing right now at this district.
Kunal, thank you there for that detailed analysis from where you are reporting from. It's very, very interesting as things go along. Let's cut across to our other reporters. I have Abhishek and Aishwarya. Aishwarya standing at Balrampur, Abhishek at Gorakhpur. Abhishek, I want to come to you first, Aishwarya, if you'd allow it, because the seat that Abhishek is reporting from, all eyes on that seat, Gorakhpur Sadar. One of the constituencies of Gorakhpur. This is the first time, Abhishek, that Yogi Adityanath is actually fighting a state assembly elections from a constituency which he's held as an MP for 5 terms.
Well, absolutely, Preeti, and that has made this particular seat very important for the BJP, not just to give a message of a landslide victory, but also to target all those constituencies which comes under the area. Where I am right now is at the Gorakhpur Mutt, and CM Yogi Adityanath is about to leave in some time for his campaign for the 7th phase, which is also very important. He has casted his vote in the morning, 7 a.m., spoke about the agenda of the development, governance, and also he claimed a landslide victory. 300 plus is what he has again claimed after this phase. And at the same time, he has said that specifically security issue has been a very impactful work of the government, and the women, the mothers and the sisters are coming out and they are voting in favor of the BJP. This is what the CM has to say. But if I talk about the relevance of this election, by fielding Yogi Adityanath as the candidate from Gorakhpur Urban, it is going to give a huge impact not only on the 9 seats of Gorakhpur but also on about 46 seats in the adjoining districts, because BJP has a stronghold in this particular belt, be at Gorakhpur, Basti, Siddharth Nagar, Ambedkar Nagar, and all those areas are going to be very important. On the other hand, if I talk about the opposition, some prominent leaders are in the battlefield today, and their stakes are also high with the fact that how they have changed the party, they have changed the alliances, and that's going to be a very important development as well. But as far as Gorakhpur is concerned, all the voters who are coming out, they're speaking about the development issue and how the Gorakhpur has transformed, or there has been a change as far as the image of this particular district is concerned. That is a primary thing, and Yogi Adityanath himself as a candidate is in the battle fray. They're speaking, the BJP workers are saying it's all about the margins. Ravi Kishan, who is the member of parliament, has claimed 2 lakh plus victory. So that kind of give us a sense what this election is going to be. And Yogi Adityanath as a candidate is in the battlefield and giving a strong message of uniting the cadre and getting a good margin from the 6th phase as well. Yes.
They're reporting from Gorakhpur. Let's cut across to Aishwarya reporting from Balrampur. Good morning, Aishwarya. What is the situation right now in Balrampur? Right behind you, you can actually see quite a few people coming on in this morning to vote.
Hi, a very good morning to you too, Preeti. Definitely, sitting in the studio, you have been able to see it. I'll give you clear pictures. We are seeing a lot of people trickling in Balrampur at this polling booth. Women, in fact, in large numbers are coming out and voting. Preeti, women have been a massive force behind the Bharatiya Janata Party, be it 2014, 2017 or 2019 elections. We'll show you, the visuals at the entrance. Very heavy police deployment. Women you can see trickling in with their voter ID cards in their hands, all of them ready to cast the vote. Now Balrampur, Preeti, when people talk about Balrampur, there are 2 things which come to mind. The very famous Balrampur Chini, and other person who comes to mind is the former Prime Minister, late Atal Bihari Vajpayee. In fact, it was this constituency which sent him to Parliament way back in 1957, and since then he was winning from this particular place. But this time, let me tell you, the caste equations are very high. We are seeing all the political parties trying to woo the OBCs, because in this particular region, 38% are OBCs, 21% are SC/ST. So that's the combination which we'll have to look out for. But yes, as far as the voting percentage is, if you talk about the voting percentage, Preeti, till now, from 7 a.m. till almost 9:30 a.m., we are seeing almost 10% voting in Balrampur. So the figures will go up. But yes, as we speak, Preeti, women voters in large numbers turning up, especially in this polling booth. Preeti.
Actions from voters coming in this morning? Aishwarya, can you get us some reactions?
Things which women voters have been particularly very vocal about. But there's a little bit of glitch, if we go and ask voters at times, they tend to just blurt out the party which they have voted for. But I've spoken to a couple of women voters, and one thing which is foremost in their minds is the law and order situation, something which Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has also been speaking about in all the phases. But the other big problem in this whole region is of the stray cattle. We did see the Prime Minister also speak about it in his Kanpur rally. But will that be a deciding factor? We'll have to wait and watch. But as far as polling is considered. We are seeing a lot of people trickling in. Almost 9% has been the voting percentage. Development, law and order and stray cattle have been one of the major focus areas in this region. Preeti.
Let's cut across right now to my colleague Mosmi, who's reporting from Siddharth Nagar, joining us live. Mosmi, very good morning. Sixth phase of polling, 57 seats cut across 10 districts. Tell us a bit about, where you're standing, Siddharth Nagar.
Absolutely, Preeti. This is being termed as one of the most crucial phases, the deciding phase as far as who will sit on the seat of Lucknow. But importantly, I'm in Siddharth Nagar, Preeti. Earlier, Siddharth Nagar was a part of Basti, and then this new district was created. It is also one of the most backward districts of India. It is a part, along with Balrampur. It is one of the most backward districts. And, migration to unemployment and raging poverty are the key issues that actually plague this part. I remember coming to this stretch in 2012 and earlier, and the roads were so awry that it literally broke a back. But this time round, the roads are better, but will those roads actually lead to power for the BJP? That's a big question. And we are joined by the regional satrap of this area. I'll see that ink mark on your finger. His wife is also here, JP Singh, the health minister of Uttar Pradesh, and one of the key faces as far as the battling the pandemic from the government side, Preeti, is concerned. JP Singh is contesting for the 8th time, so he's won 7 times round. So do you sense a big anti-incumbencies, particularly in your constituency? Now, I know that's a tough question, but we'll expect a honest answer.
There's always an anti-incumbency after you contest 1 or 2 elections, and there are also local issues. Plus, being a health minister for the first time, I have experienced a lot of anti-incumbency. People's expectations are huge, but those expectations are also in the villages where we've really worked. All our schemes which go down to each and every family, those are the expectations they wanted, where they wanted housing, electricity, bathrooms or public bathrooms, public toilets. These are what they really wanted, and basically to be able to access to the food grains, which was always a problem in UP.
So what are the beneficiaries we are looking at? If we go to the micro level and we talk about Basti, what is the number of beneficiaries you're looking at from these government schemes?
So the number is huge because we are basically 75% a rural area in this Siddharth Nagar, and there's only 25% or maybe less than that. I think maybe 80% is rural. The rest is in the cities, or cities what you call kasbas and Nagar Palikas and all. So our target has always been in the villages, and that is basically the formula of the BJP only. The poorest man in the village must get all the benefits the government.
What is the carpet reach? If you look at 100% carpet area, what is the reach? 80%, 70%?
No, I think we've achieved up to say 50% just now, because the schemes come from the central government. Budget is provided. This time also they provided at least 80 lakh budget for the 80 lakh houses in the entire country. So after which a certain amount is allotted to Uttar Pradesh. So as and when the budget comes, we ensure that it is given to the right person, and then they benefit from that.
All right, before we come to more political questions from him, we'll speak to his better half and of course the Bahu of the family. How do you sense the eagerness in the voters? Because we've seen long women voter queues. JP Singh ji, just stay with us right now. So we've sensed a long queue of women. And do you think that women will come out to vote? Time has come full circle. They have their own voice and they make their own decisions than be driven by the family head or by what the husband?
No, I think the family head definitely makes a difference. It's not that the family head doesn't make a difference, but the women do have a say now. That is there. The women do have a say, and I'm glad that this is happening. That the women have a say now, and they're coming out in huge numbers. So it's a good sign.
It's a good sign, and we've got one voter who's from Orissa, now married in UP, and she's voting first time in Basti. How do you feel? Eager, excited as a first time voter?
I am excited to vote for my father-in-law. I'm voting for the first time for him, and
Please don't reveal who you're voting for, but how excited are you?
yeah, I am excited.
Were you nervous when you went in the booth?
No, not exactly.
Weren't nervous. So, you know, the youth voter, the youth women voter are key voters that the political parties are looking at. But if you go to the demographic profile of Siddharth Nagar, Preeti, you have a huge chunk of OBC, almost 50%. You have a sizable chunk of Muslim population in these 5 districts that have been swept by the BJP in 2017, and also a sizable number of Dalit voters, and that is of the Dalit, the Jata voters are almost 60%. And that's why you see the permutation and combination of smaller parties, alliances that the Samajwadi Party has staged, the BJP banking on the Apna Dal with Anupriya Patel, and on the other hand, Akhilesh also getting Dara Singh to Swami Prasad Maurya. So these could be key players. Whether they can woo the community beneficiaries is another key issue, and migration, you know, because this district has seen a lot of migration. Let's give you a sense of what's happening at the polling booth. We can see the queues. The sun is out, it's bright and sunny, and this is going to be a tough battle because 57 seats, the BJP had ruled the roost with 46, and interestingly, you know, that it's not that the Samajwadi Party has never done well in this stretch, because in 2012 the Samajwadi Party more or less grabbed up almost 36 I think seats. So that if whether the factors that worked in 2017 will work for the BJP, or whether 2012 conditions prevail, one has to wait and see. But I can tell you for certain that certain key issues could play a factor of that is these beneficiaries, the schemes that the government has launched, because remember, these are the laboratories of the experiment that the Modi government and the Yogi government has put into place. These are extremely backward districts. Below BPL population is sizable. They are the beneficiaries of at least 4 to 5 government schemes, and even as we talk, within the polling season, there have been several people who have received the Kisan Nidhi, the 2,000 rupees that the government gives. We will have to see whether that plays into effect, or whether the caste permutations and combinations are broken down, whether the Samajwadi Party can actually penetrate through the non-Yadav OBC vote bank. That would be key. Also, the BSP in this region could be a key player, because Kapil Vastu is one of the reserved seats here. Dumariaganj, we've seen Raghavendra Singh of the BJP almost speak a very, very polarizing language. He was banned by the Election Commission. And we have Mata Prasad versus Satish Dwivedi, another minister of the Yogi government in Dumariaganj. So interesting battle. Mata Prasad was the Speaker of the Assembly. He's a Samajwadi Party local satrap. And so there, 2-3 seats, we are seeing a very tightly and keenly fought battle. We'll have to see whether the other parties can wrestle it out. Interestingly, in Shohratgarh, which is the 5th constituency, the BJP and the Samajwadi Party candidates are aliens. They've been pitched from far. One is from Itawa, and that's why the BSP and the Congress could stand a chance in Shohratgarh. So interesting battle in Siddharth Nagar and also around this stretch where, the basic amenities are always an issue, and BJP, pitching its beneficiary schemes to the hilt in this side of the region. We'll have to wait and see how that really unfolds and impacts the BJP on 10th of March, Preeti. But really, the Samajwadi Party knows that if it doesn't do well in this phase, then it's really out of the battle of UP, and that's why, the alliances that the Samajwadi Party has stitched, everything now boils down to the candidates, whether the candidates can really get that swing to their side, because the battles are keenly fought and very closely fought.
Maushmi, we're going to come right back to you. Do stay on with us. Let's cut across to Javed Ansari, joining us in the capacity of a political analyst. Javed, there's something that has been said very often right now as we've gone through the many phases of this election. The slog overs now. And one of the biggest is that this election is going to come down to the last 2 phases.
Yes, and in the last two phases, there are about 111 seats which are up for grabs, of which the BJP had won a substantial number. I think it's above 90 seats. So, for conventional wisdom, would suggest that in normal circumstances, to repeat that kind of performance, it was a maximalist performance, to repeat that performance would be a tall order. This is also the area where the social engineering which has been put into effect by both sides will be put to test. In the present round of elections, the sixth round, there are about 11 seats which are reserved. So don't discount the BSP factor. We're just focusing on BJP and the SP. Don't discount the BSP factor. Also, we need to watch whether social alliances new ground has been broken. There is talk that even amongst the SCs, the non-Jatav, non-Chamar SCSTs, there is evidence from the ground to suggest that they've been shifting, that they've been voting, and they are now breaking new ground in the sense that they could be perhaps for the first time preferring SP candidates. For amongst the Jatavs, yes, the BSP remains the first choice, but wherever the BSP is either not in the fray, or then that vote is being divided between the SP and the BJP. This is the area from where Swami Prasad Maurya, Om Prakash Rajbhar, the other faction of Anupriya Patel's party, all that Akhilesh has tried to stitch together come into play. For the BJP, a big factor which appears to be working in their favor is the Nishads. The Nishads are concentrated are here in large numbers, and that could work for the BJP's advantage. It's as far as Gorakhpur is concerned, look, it would be very, very surprising if Yogi Adityanath does not win that seat. But is it enough for Yogi Adityanath to just win urban Gorakhpur and then sit pretty? Of the 9 seats, he has to win at least 6 or 7 for it to be called his citadel. And that's the test. That's the challenge. Right now, Padrona, Gorakhpur, Basti, these are areas where the BJP will do well. But similarly, the SP and BSP too have their citadels like Ballia, like Domariaganj, like other districts. So it's going to be a keenly watched and keenly contested. And, I won't hasten to say that, a particular party is either out of the race or will be out of the race, or that somebody else is romping home, because evidence from the ground suggests that indeed is not the case.
This is also a phase where it would be put to test, the possible engineering of a social alliance with the other OBCs than Yadavs are concerned for the Samajwadi Party.
Yeah, that's precisely the point I made earlier. Yes, this is the area where Om Prakash Rajbhar, Swami Prasad Maurya, the other faction of Apna Dal, all this will come to. This is where Akhilesh Yadav's attempt at broad-basing his support, getting out of the MY support base, broad-basing it to other non-Yadav OBCs. This is where the BJP had trumped him the last time around. Mr. Amit Shah's great strategy was to sideline, in a way, the Yadavs and get the non-Yadav backwards on their side. Akhilesh appears to have realized that, and he's made a conscious effort. He failed in winning over Nishad for other reasons, but he's managed to win away Swami Prasad Maurya. He's managed to win away Om Prakash Rajbhar, who was till some time, a member of the Yogi Adityanath government. He's got Anupriya Patel's mother, the faction that is aligned to her mother, on his side. He's got other smaller parties on their side. So whether that is enough to put it past the BJP remains to be seen. But right now, this battle has been joined. The battle for the other OBCs has been joined well and truly. How much of it will result on the ground, we'll see. Like I said in my earlier submission, but there is anecdotal evidence from the ground which seems to suggest that some of these OBC, non-Yadav OBC castes are now, for the first time, voting in a manner in which they didn't do in the past.
Stay on with me. Let's cut across to all the political reactions that we're getting in this morning.
क्या माहौल लग रहा है?
ऐतिहासिक जितने कार्य हुए 5 साल में, ये 70 साल में लोगों ने नहीं देखा था, वो हम लोगों की जीत के एक बहुत बड़ा कारण बन रहा है और उससे हम लोग बहुमत का आंकड़ा डाक रहे हैं। ये छठे और सातवें फेज में हम लोग 300 के आंकड़े को पार कर जाएंगे।
आपके बेटे को भी कल पुलिस ने अपने थाने में बैठाया, पूछताछ करी है, उन्होंने आरोप लगाया कि कुछ पैसे ऐसे बांटने के बाद। आप कैसे देखते हैं पूरे मामले को?
अब ये भारतीय जनता पार्टी सरकार का नाटक है। पैसा होता तो बरामद होता, कोई अन्य ऐसी चीज जो लोगों को लुभाने वाली होती वो भी होता तो भी बरामद होता। कहीं कुछ है ही नहीं, क्योंकि स्वामी प्रसाद मौर्य का बेटा है, वो क्षेत्र में संपर्क कैसे कर रहा है? पूरा का पूरा योगी जी का निर्देश है।
भारतीय जनता पार्टी 350 के लक्ष्य को प्राप्त करने की ओर अग्रसर होगी। 7वें चरण में यह आंकड़ा 2017 के तर्ज पर रिकॉर्ड बनाता हुआ दिखाई देगा। वंशवाद की राजनीति से, जातिवाद की राजनीति से, मत और मजहब की राजनीति से, माफियावाद और आतंकवाद जैसी दुष्प्रवृत्ति से बाहर निकलना है तो हम मतदान करें।
आपके सामने बीजेपी है और समाजवादी पार्टी है, किसको बड़ी चुनौती मान रहे हैं, बीजेपी को कि सपा को? हाँ,
यहाँ दोनों लोगों की स्थिति बहुत खराब है।
बहुत खराब है। चाहे ये किस आपके अकबरपुर सीट से या कि बाकी 4 सीटों का भी यही हाल है?
5 सीटों पर बहुजन समाज के पार्टी के प्रत्याशी ही सबसे नंबर 1 पर हैं और नंबर 1 पे रहेंगे।
ये पार्टियां अभी तक थी जो आज अखिलेश हो या मायावती, वो जातिवाद की बात करती थी, वो तुष्टीकरण की बात करती थी, वो सांप्रदायिकता की बात करती थी। आखिर मुख्तार अंसारी क्या हैं? मुख्तार अंसारी हो, अतीक हो, आजम हो, ये एक टेरर थे, डॉन थे, मतलब पूरा प्रदेश इनसे कांपता था। अकूत संपत्तियां इन्होंने बना रखी थी। बाबा बुलडोजर ने एक बुलडोज किया तो आम जनता ने उसका स्वागत किया।
Let's cut across right now to Abhishek Sudhir, advocate and political analyst, who's also joining me live. Good morning, Abhishek. Abhishek, for someone who's been tracking the trajectory of the Samajwadi Party through the course of this 7-phase election, how crucial do you reckon this phase is?
Well, it's an extremely crucial phase because the performance in the last election was not great for the Samajwadi Party, especially. They only won, one seat out of the 57 seats that are going to the polls today. So Mr. Akhilesh Yadav really needs to make up lost ground in this phase, Preeti. I think some of the key battles you're going to witness, especially in Gorakhpur, where Mr. Yadav has expended an unusual amount of energy. He's been campaigning there for, he campaigned on Monday, he campaigned on Sunday, Monday and Tuesday. So he campaigned for 3 days in a row. He visited Gorakhpur. Not a single seat was won by the Samajwadi Party in the 9 assembly segments in Gorakhpur district. So he's put in a lot of effort there. He's put up Shubhavati Shukla, the widow of Upendranath Shukla, an old rival of Yogi Adityanath. So I think Mr. Yadav's strategy, the way I see it is, he's trying to pit Brahmin versus Thakur. Shubhavati Shukla, Brahmin, and Yogi, of course, the big Thakur face of Uttar Pradesh. And even though Shubhavati Shukla might end up losing that seat, Preeti, Mr. Yadav's strategy is he wants it to have a sort of domino effect in the other seats in Gorakhpur, wherein he says, look, this is a Brahmin versus Thakur fight. The Congress has also put up a Brahmin candidate. BSP has put up a Muslim candidate, and Chandrasekhar Azad, as we know, is also contesting. So will Yogi Adityanath lose Gorakhpur Sadar, Gorakhpur Urban? Probably not. But the impact of the kind of candidates that have been put up there, the fight that the SP is giving to Yogi will have a domino effect, I feel, in the Gorakhpur seat. So that is the big battle to watch today. And hopefully Samajwadi Party, for them at least, they'll hope that they'll be able to open their account in Gorakhpur this time. That's one point. I just wanted to make another quick point, Preeti, about the battle for Swami Prasad Maurya. It's become a big prestige battle, Preeti, today because Swami Prasad Maurya convoy of 25 vehicles, he's alleged, is attacked by the BJP and their workers. Sangamitra Maurya, who's a member of parliament of the BJP, also supported her father. And so that has become a prestige battle from Fazil Nagar. We all know Swami Prasad Maurya shifted from Podrana to Fazil Nagar. The rumor mill being that RPN Singh being brought in from the Congress to the BJP might affect him. But the fact seems to be, the strategy behind it seems to be, there was some anti-incumbency against Swami Prasad Maurya, and the BJP workers were very angry with Swami Prasad Maurya and Padrana, so he shifted to Fazil Nagar. So a very bitter battle brewing in Fazil Nagar. So these are a couple of the big fights I wanted to draw your attention to today.
All right, appreciate you joining us. We're going to come right back to you. I want to, immediately cut across to Javed Ansari, who's also, joining us on this special broadcast. Javed, it's practically the story in every phase. If you look from west as we've gone up east, these were districts which were completely taken by the BJP the last time round.
Well, certainly the BJP won 45 seats. The BSP came second with 5. It was a distant second. The Congress and the Samajwadi Party had to console themselves by winning just 1 seat. So you can see the mountain that these parties have to climb. But don't forget that in 2012, this was the very area where the SP won 30 plus seats. So if the BJP could catapult in 2017 from what it had in 2012, then there is nothing to say. Theoretically, the SP or any other party can make that quantum leap as well. And this is a very significant point that the speaker, the gentleman who spoke before me made, that in Gorakhpur, there's been this traditional rivalry for supremacy between the Thakurs and the Brahmins. This is a cleavage that Akhilesh Yadav has sought to exploit. One of the first acts of Mr. Yogi Adityanath when he became chief minister was to try and to send the police to raid Hari Shankar Tiwari. He's a very popular and albeit a controversial figure amongst the Brahmin community. He's been an ex-minister. They raided his house. Their rivalry goes back ages. So it's been building up, it's been simmering, and both the SP as well as the Congress have tried to exploit this. The SP, by all accounts, appears to be in a better position to take advantage of this. And again, I'd be very surprised if the chief minister doesn't win that seat of his. But it's the other seats. There are 8 other seats, 9 seats in total from the Gorakhpur district which go to polls, and it's the other 8 seats which the SP and the other opposition parties have their eyes on.
Let's continue to get our viewers the latest. We're going to cut across to our reporters as well, fanned out across these 10 districts as the 6th phase of polling is underway. Viewers, let's get you that shot right now of Yogi Adityanath casting his ballot early this morning. I'll go across to Javed, once again, and Abhishek Sudhir. Javed, the importance of these visuals as well. Yogi Adityanath, he's held as an MP the seat of Gorakhpur for 5 consecutive terms, for the first time fighting a state assembly election, pretty much highlights the importance of this election as well.
Well, certainly he is the BJP's face in the state, and therefore he had they pitched him from his home seat. That was the best bet. There was a lot of speculation that he'll be put up from Ayodhya, but later the BJP decided to pitch him to put him up from his home seat. That's where the Gorakhnath temple is. There's a sizable Rajput population there, Thakur population, and they hope that Yogi Adityanath will be able to win easily from there, and then also help them in eastern UP. There's also a significant development in this election. That is the coming of age of Akhilesh Yadav. I'm not in any way suggesting that one party is going to win and the other is going to lose, but look at this. First, he's tried to weed out a lot of the mistakes that plagued his campaign in the last time. One, he's tried to clamp out dissidents within his party. He's won over his uncle. He's ironed out their differences. 2, there are no family members traveling with him on his convoy. If you see, from the day that he started early in November from Ghazipur till the last rally, there's no Dharmendra Yadav, there is no Akshay Yadav, all the other cousins and siblings that you saw around him. This is just his party people. There are no controversial figures. There's nobody who you can point a finger. And he appears to have risen out of the shadow. Win or lose, this is Akhilesh Yadav's election as far as the internal dynamics of the Samajwadi Party is concerned. He is the principal face of opposition to the BJP in Uttar Pradesh. He has clearly emerged and established himself now. But is that enough? Certainly not. For somebody in politics, you are either in power or you're not. And if you're not in power, whether you come second or you come third, it's a matter of academic debate. But Akhilesh Yadav, he still has to cross that last mile. He has to breast the tape. He needs to form a government because a lot of things have come together against the BJP or in favor of Akhilesh, whether it's the farmers' agitation, whether it is the stray cattle, whether it is unemployment, whether it is deaths due to negligence in COVID, whether it is dissatisfaction amongst teachers, central as well as state, for the the removal of the pension scheme. So a lot of things have come together, and they may not necessarily come together come the next election. So this is the opposition's best chance. If they can't put it past the BJP, then perhaps they may have to wait a lot. Perhaps they may have to wait a lot longer.
All right, I want to cut across back to Abhishek Sudhir. Abhishek, how important do you see the last two phases is? Because now what most political analysts believe that this election is being fought in these two phases.
Yeah, absolutely, Preeti. The BJP has 100 MLAs, right? They won 100 out of the 111 seats that are left in the last two phases. So if you're going to dent the BJP, these 100 seats are going to make the difference maker. The last two phases are the difference between forming the government or coming very close to forming the government and giving the BJP a tough fight. So totally endorse what Mr. Ansari said about Mr. Akhilesh Yadav maturing as a politician. He also mentioned Vijay Shankar Tiwari, son of Hari Shankar Tiwari, a strongman of Purvanchal. The only seat the BJP did not win in Gorakhpur in 2017 was Chilupar, and that's the constituency from which Vijay Shankar Tiwari on a BSP ticket won. So the BSP has now essentially lost a lot of its big faces in Purvanchal. I want to point out that the BSP is the only party in Uttar Pradesh, Preeti, that has a Purvanchal unit, a Purvanchal office. So they've had, Purvanchal has always been nurtured from the days of Kanshiram now to Behenji Mayawati. So they have lost a lot of faces. Vinay Shankar Tiwari is one of them. Therefore, the SP has a chance of winning that seat, at least in Gorakhpur. Like I said, Mr. Yadav has been really giving Gorakhpur a lot of attention, much, in a very similar vein to what the BJP did in terms of Karhal, where, all the heavyweights went there to campaign. I also want to talk about a couple of prominent BSP faces who have crossed over to the SP in Ambedkar Nagar. If you look at Ambedkar Nagar was a constituency that Mayawati Behenji actually carved out of Faizabad, if I'm not mistaken, when she was chief minister. She essentially did what is known in US election parlance as gerrymandering, right? So she created this Ambedkar Nagar district with 5 seats. Now, these 5 seats have always been a stronghold of the BSP, but 3 sitting BSP MLAs have crossed over to the SP. Ramachal Rajbar, Lalji Verma, and Tribhuwan Dutt. And these 3 who have crossed over from BSP to SP are expected to significantly dent Behenji in Ambedkar Nagar. So once again in Ambedkar Nagar, Mr. Yadav has his sights set, right, wherein they could practically win 3 out of 5. And you also have seats like Alapur and Jalalapur where they're putting in a lot of effort. So the non-Jatav approach, the focus on the non-Jatav vote by Akhilesh Yadav, whether the fruits of that will be seen, I feel, in Ambedkar Nagar, where the BJP is going to be given a tough fight. Now, some analysts are saying, listen, Ramachal Rajbar, Lalji Verma, these were people who essentially were the head of the non-Jatav units of the BSP in Purvanchal. Right? Analysts have said, because they've moved with SP, will the Jatav vote will not move with them? Will the non-Jatav vote move? That is the question that needs to be asked. So very interesting battle brewing in Ambedkar Nagar. And going back to Tiwari again, the Brahmin Thakur battle and the face-off is actually going to determine, right, this election, because what people say is Brahmins might be 11% approximately, right, 11 to 12% of the electorate, but the Brahmin voter will get you 25% of the electorate because he is very vocal, he's very articulate, and he will bring voters along with him. So if you have to defeat Yogi Adityanath, you need the support of the Brahmins. You also need the support, of course, of the non-Jatavs. And Preeti, one more point here is the Kurmis, the Nishads, the Rajbars, OP Rajbar, Suhel Dev Bharatiya Samaj Party, SBSP, has been given 9 out of the 57 seats. Mr. Yadav has been very charitable towards them. OP Rajbar has struck up a good equation. So the SBSP, right, can also dent the BJP. And the Nishads, massive factor, the Nishads, they have an influence over 50 to 60 seats of the remaining 111 seats. Will they go with Anupriya Patel, or will they go with the Samajwadi Party's Krishna Patel, mother of Anupriya Patel? Right? Can there be a split in the Nishad vote? A lot of Nishad candidates have also been given tickets by the SP. So it's a winner-take-all phase. These 2 phases are, you can essentially say,
Singh, as well as I'm going to cut across to Abhishek as well. I want to bring in Sanjay Singh, political analyst, who's also joining us at this point of time. Sanjay Singh, when we talk about the Nishad factor in the last phase, it played out, in Prayagraj, in Pratapgarh. This time around, many constituencies where the Nishad factor could be at play?
Surely, Preeti, this area which has gone to poll and areas which are going to poll, of course, these are the areas where we talk maximum about OBCs, MBCs, and Nishad factor, as you said. BJP has given good number of tickets to Nishad. I don't know whether they have, the party has that much of strength on the ground, but in terms of messaging, this is a great move by the BJP. Remember, even in Bihar, Sanjay Nishad did not have that kind of strength on the ground. But then BJP gave him a certain number of seats, also made him minister, gave other logistics support. Broadly, you form a social coalition whereby you bring these communities, the communities which think they are on margins and they need a political voice, some kind of empowerment. They come under that broad umbrella whereby you, therefore BJP has this Nishad party in their fold. They also have Anupriya Patel, and they have been generous to ticket distribution to them. In fact, in some areas that is also causing some heartburns for the BJP workers, but that is a thing of past. Now these are elections. This phase is also critical because when you're talking about Nishad, of course, the issue is the OBC voters. Swami Prasad Maurya switching over from BJP to the Samajwadi Party was talked about, and some people were saying this is political earthquake. I think Swami Prasad Maurya has a very, very tough challenge at hand. At this point in time, when polling is going on there, Swami Prasad Maurya has a very tough task, very tough challenge ahead with him. I don't know which way this will go. This is not the time to say this particularly about a candidate in particular, so to say. Therefore, I'm restraining on that count. But yes, that is a very tough challenge that he is facing. Same is going to be the case with Om Prakash Rajbhar when voting takes place there. Broadly, the social coalition, the caste combinations, the work, and the themes and alternate that the challenger puts forward. In some areas, of course, now it boils down to actual management. And therefore, when polling is taking place in Purvanchal, Banaras has become a key hub where you see all big leaders as coming to Banaras. Be it Priyanka Gandhi in the last phase, be it Mamata Banerjee was came to Banaras. Is going to be here today also. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is coming. Gorakhpur going to poll. This is a phase which is nation would be hooked to this.
Mr. Singh, stay on with me. Let's cut across to our reporters. I have Abhishek Mishra, who's joining me back from Gorakhpur. It's a seat, which everybody has their eyes on this time around. Yogi Adityanath fighting from Gorakhpur Sadar, Gorakhpur Urban. Abhishek, what are you witnessing this morning, Gorakhpur?
Well, Gorakhpur, a very high-profile seat, CM Adityanath as a candidate, and morning he cast his vote, and after that he was in the mud where we are right now, and now he has just left for the Jaunpur rally. It is very important, Preeti, as we have already been discussing about the impact of his, contesting this election in Gorakhpur and all these seats, the 46 seats, which are going to be very important for the BJP. And one thing is also very important, that today after casting his vote, CM Adityanath spoke to the media and he gave a number. He said it's going to be a good fight, and we are reaching to the 300 mark. Earlier he was saying we are crossing the 300 mark. So there has been a shift of 25 to 30 seats, but that shows that the battle is getting intense, and the BJP top leadership also has a realization that it's not going to be that easy. 2017, yes, the track record is very promising. 115 seats out of 164 in this particular bid for the BJP, but this time the combinations, the alliances, the partners and all those leaders, the prominent faces who are in the fray today for the sixth phase are giving a tough challenge to the BJP. And at the same time, Yogi Adityanath as a candidate from this particular seat is also trying to give a push to that mandate towards the BJP. And when he spoke to us about his vision, he said that the women are coming out, they're voting for the BJP. The people have seen the transformation of the Gorakhpur, and as well as Purvanchal is concerned, all those schemes and all those focus has been around this particular area. So this is all we are picking from the ground, and as far as aggressive voting is concerned, it's going on smoothly. So far so good, and the voters who are coming out are speaking about the core issues of the development as well. And yes, of course, the straight cattle issue, be it the unemployment is also we are hearing. But Gorakhpur is all about Yogi Adityanath and all these leaders, and specifically the member of parliament from here, Ravi Kishan. We spoke to him, and he is also very confident that all the 9 seats, the Chillupar seat, he's also claiming that it is going for the BJP this time. So yes, a big election, a big day, and Yogi Adityanath is contesting and giving a very strong message of his stronghold, not only in Gorakhpur, but also the adjoining district who are casting their vote in this 6th important phase. Yes.
Across to Siddharth Nagar, Moshmi joining me this morning. Moshmi, you've been speaking to a lot of voters. Get us as many reactions as you can.
कोई पार्टी का नाम नहीं लेना.
We heard you, Moshmi. Yes, कोई पार्टी का नाम नहीं लेना.
Preeti, we've got some voters with us who are. Yes, Preeti, we have to remind them again and again. So it's a very precarious situation for the reporter on the ground zero. But there are certain voters जिनका नाम कट गया है. आप बताइए भैया किन किन लोगों का नाम कट गया और वापस जाना पड़ा है आप लोग?
हम लोग को वापस जाना पड़ रहा है. वोट नहीं पड़ रहा है.
वोट नहीं पड़ रहा है?
नहीं, नाम नहीं है लिस्ट में.
आपका भी नहीं है?
नहीं, हमारा है. हमारे औरत का नहीं है, बिमला का.
मैडम, काफी लेडीज का नाम नहीं है. 20-25 औरतें लौट चुकी हैं.
So let me tell you, we are in Basti, Preeti, where JP is saying, the health minister, we spoke to him a short while ago. He is fighting against Monu Dubey, who's a youngster of the Samajwadi Party, sizable Brahmin vote in Basti. But certain voters are here, and we'll get a sense of what are the issues at the micro level. यहाँ पे Basti में मुद्दे क्या हैं आप लोग के? किस चीज से आप लोग परेशान?
हमारे यहाँ के देखिए, शिक्षा में हमारे यहाँ के लोग बहुत पीछे हैं. शिक्षा की कोई सुविधा विशेष नहीं है.
अरे शिक्षा मंत्री है यहाँ से सतीश द्विवेदी.
कोरोना काल जो चला उसमें तो जो बच्चे काका काका भी जानते तो भी भूल गए.
अच्छा,
वो भी भूल गए. और कोई यहाँ मतलब ऐसे हमारे यहाँ रोड है, चितिया मार्ग है, आप जा नहीं पाओगे सड़क से. हाँ, हमारे यहाँ जनिया जोता है. ऐसे तमाम रोड में मिलेंगे आपको, जहाँ की जाने में कोई सुविधा नहीं है.
और जैसे यहाँ बासी आओ तो वो सड़क ठीक है.
ठीक है, बांसी का तो मेन हाईवे है, जो हमारा मेन नेपाल से जो रोड जोड़ रहा है इंटरनेशनल हाईवे, वो हमारा इंटरनेशनल हाईवे तो सही है. लेकिन जो लोकेलिटी में अगर हम जाएंगे, जैसे बांसी से कुछ इंटीरियर क्षेत्र हैं जहाँ पे लोग काफी एजुकेटेड लोग हैं, लेकिन उस क्षेत्र के जितने लोग हैं वहाँ का रोड जो है बहुत ही बेकार है. जब बारिश होती है तो वहाँ पे पूरा पानियां भर जाती है. तो लोकल के लोग जो चाहते हैं वो इंटरनेशनल हाईवे, तो वो नेशनल का काम है. लेकिन लोकलिटी जो है, लोकल का ही रोड हमें जब जाने आने में ही दिक्कत होगी, तो उस प्रॉब्लम को बहुत सारे लोग फेस करते हैं.
शिक्षा के अलावा कुछ और मुद्दा?
रोड है, दवाइयाँ भी हैं. जो हमारे यहाँ के जो कुछ ऐसे बेचारे गरीब हैं जिनका कायदे से दवा भी नहीं हो पाता, अस्पताल में दवा नहीं पाते जाने पर, ये भी मुद्दा है.
स्वास्थ्य मंत्री यहाँ से है, प्रदेश के स्वास्थ्य मंत्री को आप का चुनाव यहीं से.
इसमें जनता क्या करेगी? जनता बेचारी दौड़ करके जाती नहीं पाती तो क्या करेगी? सवाले भी है.
अच्छा, और यहाँ पे जी
तत्काल कोई काम थोड़ी होता है. अस्पताल बन रहा है, अब तुरंत तो नहीं बनेगा. प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना देख लीजिए, गिन नहीं पाएंगी अब नरकटा के अंदर.
आवास का जाल बिछ गया है, आवास का जाल बिछाया गया है. और हमारे यहाँ स्वास्थ्य मंत्री है, 50 बेड का अस्पताल उन्होंने दिया है, और मेडिकल कॉलेज दिया है, और तमाम व्यवस्थाएं हमारी सरकार ने दी.
पासी हॉस्पिटल में महिला डॉक्टर नहीं है. एक भी महिला, अगर किसी लेडीज को ऑपरेशन या बच्चा पैदा करवाना तो सिद्धार्थनगर हॉस्पिटल जाना पड़ता है, प्राइवेट हॉस्पिटल में जाना पड़ता है.
जी जी, हम तैयारी कर रहे हैं उसकी. 50 बेड के अस्पताल, 50 बेड के अस्पताल में मैं सारी. इसके पहले सपा की सरकार थी, वो एक भी काम का गिना दें. सपा की सरकार
5 साल के बाद 40 साल से ये विधायक हैं, 40 साल से विधायक हैं. आज जब से देश आजाद हुआ, एक विधायक को छोड़ करके कभी नहीं कोई हुआ. यही हुए हैं, कोई विकास नहीं किया, खाली अपने महल का विकास किया.
ये पूरा जनता जान चुकी है. अब आपका वो झूठा चलने वाला नहीं है पुलिंदा, खाली भगवा ही भगवा रहेगा.
Preeti, getting you the bigger picture, how closely fought this battle is. JP Singh is the health minister. He cast his vote in the same polling booth, and we're just outside that polling booth speaking to the people. Many voters do tell us that they cannot publicly express who they have voted for, but आप भीतर जाएंगे, किस पे बटन दबाएंगे, ये किसी को पता नहीं चलेगा. That is also the kind of thought that the voters are thinking about. But importantly, you know, if you look at not only the Basti battle, in Basti, the Samajwadi Party has pitched Monu Dubey, who's a youngster, against a seven-timer of the BJP. So that's an interesting battle. If you look at Itwa, Satish Dwivedi, they were talking about the education facilities, and still, you know, this is the voter of UP. They're still debating and still discussing. Both sides have their arguments. The BJP supporters talk about a 5-year-old, the Samajwadi Party rule. The Samajwadi Party supporters talk about nothing much happening, and there is a differentiation that the voter is drawing between the government schemes at the center and the state schemes. I asked them about these beneficiaries. They said that is a central government scheme that is not going to fade away if the state government goes. So that's the kind of awareness. I said, do the voters really understand? I also asked them that ये नमक की बात हो रही है कि नमक अदा करना है, and I'll take it to the gentleman who actually spoke about it. आपसे हम बात कर रहे थे कि नमक खाया है, ऐसी चर्चा हो रही है, उस पे आपकी क्या राय है?
अरे वो नमक मेरे तो इंडिया की सब पूरे हमारे जनता गरीबों की नमक है. नमक उनका क्या, थोड़ा मेरे गरीबों सब का पैसा है, उन्हीं का नमक है, मेरे गरीबों का, उनका क्या नमक है?
So that's what I was telling you about. So the Brahmin voters here seem to be pretty aware of the situation. Yes, in phase 6 and phase 7, this picture also comes into place where it's not upper caste versus the OBC. You will see a Mandal politics on the ground, on ground zero, and you'll also see a Brahmin versus a Rajput battle being fought not only in Siddharth Nagar but also in Gorakhpur and other stretches. How big that battle would play out, it remains to be seen, but we are seeing a breaking up of caste into several permutations, and the big OBC caste into several permutations and combinations. Let's bring Shohratgarh into picture. Now Shohratgarh, we are seeing an Apna Dal candidate from the BJP, and we are seeing a Subhaspa candidate from the Samajwadi Party. Now voters also say it really matters which symbol is there in the EVM machine. So they are looking at the symbol, and both these candidates apparently are outsiders brought from neighboring districts or faraway districts. So that's playing a booster for the Congress candidate Pappu Chaudhary, though a local candidate. He's fought MLA elections earlier also in Shohratgarh. In Kapilvastu, a re-election is being sought by the BJP candidate. We'll have to see whether the BSP comes into picture there. And Raghavendra Singh is in Dumariaganj, who is trying to polarize the issue. The question is that with the EC banning him, his several speeches on the Muslim community have drawn the ire of the EC. Samajwadi Party is saying that they have a dearth of issues at a place, at the micro level, where the BJP is trying to pitch its work, its roadways, its schemes. When a candidate in Dumariaganj gets into a polarizing speech targeting a particular community, then eyebrows are raised whether the BJP is able to unite, do a Hindu versus Muslim battle in Dumariaganj, or whether it's the issues that will actually rule, and if the issues are so strong, why bring in a polarizing speech? So very interesting permutations and combinations in this district that we're seeing rolled out, but still the buzz, voters here still arguing, Preeti, and still the debate going on. आप सब लोग भाई भाई हैं, कानून व्यवस्था बनाए रखिए, चर्चा चलती रहनी चाहिए, क्यों?
जी हाँ, यही सही है, हिंदू मुस्लिम सब भाई भाई,
सब भाई भाई, कानून व्यवस्था बनाए रखें।
हाँ ठीक है
जी, सब लोग निकल रहे हैं वोट डालने के लिए।
हाँ डाल दिए पड़ गया वो।
सब लोग दिखाइए अपना स्याही का निशान।
नहीं है मैडम, मेरा 5 वोट कटा हुआ है। नगर पालिका में मैंने वोट डाला हूँ, 5 वोट कट गया है मेरे घर का पूरा वोट निषाद नगर में।
We would like to draw Election Commission's attention also to this booth in Basti. क्या बूथ का नाम क्या है? प्राथमिक विद्यालय. So this Prathmik Vidyalaya, the school in Basti, where multiple voters are complaining that the name is not in the voters list. Probably they'll have to wait for their chance, but the eagerness in voters really tells the story that the election battle in UP is actually being fought for the voter, by the voter and of the voter, Preeti.
All right, Maushmi, we're going to continue coming to you. Maushmi getting us this motley crew of reactions there. Let's take it now. All those reactions and all to our analysts this morning. Javed, when you listen, to all, the reactions that are filtering in, what's most interesting is a lot of them talk about the local issues. A lot of them talk about the welfare schemes, and the welfare schemes are a big hit. For me personally, when I went around, the scheme where Russian is concerned is catching a lot of traction on ground. Would you reckon it would be these issues that voters go to polls with this time around, or do you think it's going to be on what is the usual fulcrum of Uttar Pradesh, either caste or religion?
Look, mercifully, religion, we haven't seen the kind of religious polarization this time that we saw earlier. I say this with a bit of caution, because there are still, after today, there's still one more round to go, but so far, yes, in the 5 rounds that have already taken place, the kind of religious polarization that I've seen in my years in the field, I didn't see this time, and therefore one needs to be thankful for that. There's in an election, in most elections, unless of course there's a wave election, then it's different. In most elections, there's a bouquet of issues, and local issues also play a huge part. Like in Western UP, it's the farmers' issue. In Eastern UP, it's not so much the farmers' issue, but a different kind. It's the stray cattle issue. Similarly, it's the question of these of the relief measures or these schemes that the BJP government has initiated. Yes, it is helping the BJP a lot. If it weren't for that, then the odds would be stacked very, very heavily against Mr. Yogi Adityanath and even the central government. So what is keeping the BJP in the fray is the fact that these schemes are drawing a lot of traction. There are a lot of people who feel, who've suffered very, very badly. This is an area from which a lot of migration took place. This is an area which economically, on all the parameters, it's way down, and people have suffered. And therefore, the relief provided by the government has been of great help. So there are a section of people who are grateful for what they have, and but there are also people who question, who say, this is, of course, a government is meant to do this. You didn't do anything during COVID. You've tried to now make up. You left us to the elements. People died, and whether this will override the fact that they've lost a near and dear one. Somebody's lost a husband. Somebody's lost a brother. Somebody lost a father, a mother or children. People who died in COVID died out of neglect because the government had really folded up. They were just totally, this healthcare system had collapsed, as it is in Uttar Pradesh and in large parts of India. It's barely able to cope in a situation like what we saw. It just collapsed, and or whether people will be taken in by the fact that yes, relief came late, but it did come. So, but either which way, you can't ignore the fact that this is a factor. How much of traction and how much of it will convert into votes, we'll know on the 10th.
All right, I want to cut across right now to Sanjay Singh. Sanjay Singh, the fact is, in every election, even with what Javed also said, there are certain constants, there are certain variables. Variables this time could be the various welfare schemes, it could be the issue of, stray cattle, so on and so forth. The constants in usually every election has been that each election, mostly, especially in Uttar Pradesh, comes down to the metrics of the caste system as well. Sometimes, if there is polarization on religious factors, which one do you think will stay this time around?
See, caste factor vis-a-vis religious factor, I agree with Javed. Unlike last time, 2017 or earlier elections, the parliamentary and otherwise local elections, the communalization factor, or you say polarization factor, that is not taking place. So much so that the Muslim community in particular has consolidated their preference, their votes towards Samajwadi Party. The reverse, in terms of what you call reverse polarization, that I don't think is happening. The voter for the BJP, of course, that is in their psyche. They talk about these things, but that is not overt anywhere wherever I have traveled. The supporters of the BJP, of course, talk about the good things that last year, five years of governance, Yogi government out here with support of Modi government from the center, about these things. The caste factor that you are talking, yes, indeed, caste factor is playing a very, very big role in these elections. So much so that if you know the surname of the person and you can identify the caste, in some cases you don't need to go forward to ask about his or her preference. Her preference, I'm not sure, because as reporters on the ground and whosoever surveys, access to women voters is very, very limited to this part of the country. Also, we generally tend to move to areas where more and more people are sitting, and we try and talk to them. It happens either by chance or by after making some very conscious effort that you actually do get to speak to women voters. Women voters, I think lately what I have seen, their preferences at time is different from their male members in the family itself. They vote as per their own choice and preferences. But generally, if you take as a family, unless very sharp kind of difference of opinion is there, family votes as a family. For them, the social welfare schemes, the economic welfare schemes, because most of the DBT is going in name of female heads or female member in the family. So there that is also making a difference. Now the caste, the social combination, the welfare schemes, also there is a section of voter who sees nothing but wants a place to be chief minister. Again, there are a section of voters who want Yogi Adityanath to be chief minister. In Yogi, they are also looking a step ahead. Yogi needs to be there for another 5 years, so that to some feel that he could be another Modi. He may be, or he is another Modi in making. So therefore, these factors are playing much. Come to these areas, today's polling and last phase, 7th phase of polling, 6th and 7th. I think this area, the polling in this particular area, even if the polling was going so broadly in preference of some party or close fight had happened in past 5 polls, which I don't really believe that has happened that way, so close. In 6th and 7th phase, 6th phase, today phase actually decide as to who is going to be in Lucknow. In your last program, I gave out my preference very clear. If you say, I'll say it again. And to my opinion, assessment, BJP is coming home. Yogi Adityanath is coming home. They will celebrate on 10th. But the question is about the difference, the margin as to how many seats, what numbers are going to be there. Therefore, Prime Minister Modi here for 3 days, today onwards, Sonia Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, not seen in these elections. Priyanka Gandhi, of course, being in Banaras, that of course will create some media hype and give great deal of media attention, also some boost to their workers. Akhilesh Yadav is here. See, he has also brought in to Banaras. Since I'm Banaras, I'm saying in terms of here. Mamata Banerjee has also come here. Basically, the opposition, the Mamata Banerjee, he has also, because first two phases of election, there was no talk of Gathbandhan, what we heard in first 2 phases from supporters of Samajwadi Party, RLD. Jan Chaudhary is also in this area today. They are holding some joint rally somewhere. Akhilesh Yadav and Jan Chaudhary, so that Gathbandhan thought may be going, one has not abandoned another has not abandoned the other. So that thing is also going on. I think what actually boils down to Samajwadi Party and also to the BJP in terms of margin.
One thing that you've been consistent about is that you're quite sure that the Bharatiya Janata Party is coming back to power. You've said that over and over again every time we've come to you after every particular phase. I think the only thing that you've hedged on about is the margin of that vote for the BJP. I want to cut across right now to Abhishek Sudhir, who's got a big smile on his face with what Sanjay said. I doubt you concur, Abhishek, with what Sanjay was saying this time.
Well, Preeti, I was in Banaras a few days ago, and I'm going to stick my neck out. You know, we say it's not a wave election, but I don't know if we go back to 2017, how many people actually said before the results came out that it was a saffron wave? So I've seen, generally speaking, we wait for the results and then say it was a wave election. I honestly, if you see the crowds at Akhilesh Yadav's rallies and the enthusiasm, you speak to multiple people, multiple anchors, people who are traveling on the ground. The crowds Akhilesh Yadav got in Gorakhpur were bigger than the crowds that Yogi got in Gorakhpur.
Abhishek, Tejasvi pulled in a lot of crowds in Bihar.
Yes, no, I'm not for a second suggesting that Yogi Adityanath is going to lose Gorakhpur, Sadora urban. What I'm trying to say is, who is the aspirational candidate here? Who is the candidate who's forward-looking? Yogi Adityanath takes you back into the past. Yogi Adityanath talks about how Hindus have been slighted. Gulami, you know, this word gulami comes up a lot in Eastern UP. I was in Sarnath and one of the guides over there was telling me, you know, fir hum gulami ke chakkar mein nahi padna chahte hai. So that's the polarization, that calling card over there. Akhilesh Yadav is talking about jobs. Today, Sant Kabir Nagar goes to the polls, Preeti. I feel we should always come back to the micro picture to have a macro understanding, right? The micro picture in Sant Kabir Nagar, you have 3 seats. One of the seats there is Khalilabad. Khalilabad is witnessing a multipolar contest where even the AIMIM and AAP are in the fight. Very rare for what has generally been a bipolar election. Khalilabad, Preeti, was the textile capital of Uttar Pradesh, in a sense, the Manchester of East UP. Right? Akhilesh Yadav, when he was chief minister, made concerted efforts to revive the textile industry there. Was he successful? Probably not, but he tried. Does Yogi Adityanath, Preeti, speak the language of development and aspiration? There was an unemployed youth, right, who was protesting at Yogi Adityanath's rally. And he pointed to that youth and said, you better stop protesting or you'll be unemployed for the rest of your life. Does Yogi Adityanath have a youth connect? He does not have a youth connect with those who are not religious. Those who are religious, who are, you know, Khattar Hindus, if you want me to put it that way, certainly they have a youth connect there with Yogi Adityanath. But the UP TET, the teacher eligibility test fiasco, the Shiksha Mitra program, where after passing 12th standard intermediate, right, basically, you get a job as an assistant teacher, wherein you are not officially qualified for that position, but you are called a Shiksha Mitra, right? There has been no recruitment there. Massive vacancies in the government. Yogi Adityanath does not come across as somebody who speaks the language of development. He's more about law and order, and then Hinduism, gar se bolo hum Hindu hai. Akhilesh Yadav has brought HCL to Lucknow. Akhilesh Yadav played a massive role in developing Noida and carried forward the work of Behenji Mayawati. So if you ask me, is there a wave today? I am ready to stick my neck out finally with a few weeks, with just little over 48 hours to go to campaigning. I think there is a red wave. I think there is a wave in favor of Akhilesh Yadav. You look at the small seats, you look at the crowds, you look at the dissatisfaction, the stray cattle issue with Mr. Ansari. People are not able to sleep. I'm speaking to people in my hometown here, is a city in Lucknow. They have family in Eastern UP. They say we've all just had to go with SP because the stray cattle menace, we cannot sleep at night. And we know that Baba or Maharajji, depending on how you view him, is not going to do anything about the stray cattle issue. And in the middle of the Ukraine crisis, the Prime Minister has been speaking about Gobar in a rally and saying, I will solve the stray cattle menace. If you're getting an admission from the Prime Minister that the stray cattle menace is an issue, then trust me, that is a massive issue. The BJP is on a very sticky wicket in East UP. I think it's too early to say they'll be celebrating on March 10th.
All right, so Abhishek Sudhir, you're sticking your neck out. You're saying it's a red wave. That means it's a Samajwadi Party government come the 10th of March. I'm going to hold either of you accountable to whatever you say this time around.
Yes, absolutely. It's on camera.
Okay. Sanjay, you know, I don't know what that makes you feel, but I'm going to come back to you. Javed Ansari wanted to come in very quickly. Yes, Javed, go ahead.
Yes, please preserve the clip of both these gentlemen. They are very brave. As they've stuck the neck out, I have got my neck between my knees and I'm bunkering down. I'm not making a prediction.
Right, so no prediction there coming in from Javed Ansari, but always interesting. You know, it's always interesting when you have political analysts who are so very sure on which way the election is going, and especially calling out an election even before the sixth phase is complete. I want to cut across right now to my colleague Aishwarya, who's joining me from Balrampur. Aishwarya, over to you. Exuberant voters this morning.
Well, definitely, Preeti, you know, and especially women voters. We are seeing women turn up in large numbers, and that's what we have seen over the past 5 phases. Also, women voters in large numbers. Now, let me just give you a sense of the population in Balrampur. You know, roughly 4 lakh voters. Out of those, 1.80 lakh are women voters. And we have been seeing how in this particular booth, Preeti, you know, people have been trickling in since 7 a.m. in the morning. So which way, you know, I was listening to the conversation. Some people were saying that we have a red wave. Which way, you know, which party will win, we'll get to know on the 10th of March. But yes, voters are out in full numbers wanting to cast their vote. All these are telling signs of what could happen on the 10th of March. You know, this is a constituency of former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee. So will BJP be able to win it again? We'll get to know on the 10th of March. But the people of this constituency are very smart. In 2012, all the 4 seats were won by Samajwadi Party. In 2017, all the 4 were won by the Bharatiya Janata Party. So the voters understand whom to vote, what to vote, and they are also understanding who will stand for them and who will give them the development that this particular area needs. Preeti.
All right, Aishwarya, we'll keep coming back to you. Let's break it down for our viewers. 10 districts, viewers, are going to polls this time around. 57 seats across going to polls in the 6th phase of election. It's quite said by most political analysts, though not on our show, because 2 of them have already called out the election, that it is these 2 phases which will practically decide on who makes the government in Uttar Pradesh. But let's break it down district by district for our viewers. Where Aishwarya was standing right now is the district of Balrampur. 4 seats in 2017. 2 were taken. In 2017, 4 were taken by the BJP itself. So it was a sweep by the BJP. But in 2012, it was a different story. Let's cut across to the other districts right now, which are going into vote. Ambedkar Nagar has 5 seats in all. The district BJP took 2. 3 went to the BSP. Balrampur, like I pointed out, 4. All 4 went to the BJP. Siddharthnagar, BJP 4. Apna Dal 1 with 5 seats. Basti 5 swept by the BJP. Sant Kabir Nagar 3 swept by the BJP. Maharajganj BJP 4, Independent 1. And Gorakhpur with its 9 seats, BJP 1 8, BSP 1. Kushinagar 7 seats, BJP 5, Congress 1, SBSP 1. Deoria BJP 6, SP 1 of the lot. Ballia, BJP 5, SP 1, BSP 1. So this is what it looked like in 2017. This was a dream run, if one can, you know, say. The BJP couldn't have had it better, which was in 2017. They'll have to better it, you know, would be practically impossible, many would suggest. But they'll have to possibly come close to that figure this time around. Will they, is the big question. Let's take it back to a political analyst. If we still have Sanjay Singh this time around. Sanjay, you're quite sure. Do we have Sanjay Singh? All right, we do. We do have Sanjay Singh. Let's cut across to Sanjay Singh. Sanjay, this time around, you know, you're very sure BJP is coming back and, you know, breaking that jinx. There's no CM of any political party which has got a consecutive term where Uttar Pradesh is concerned. You're sure that jinx is going to be broken this time around. You're unsure of the margin. Is that it?
Yeah, Preeti, in last 70 years, no chief minister who has served for 5 years has returned to power in Uttar Pradesh. There have been instances, 4 instances, where serving chief minister came back to power. But those were heads of Congress, Sampurna Anand, Narayan Dutt Tiwari, and 2 others, Hemantinand Bahuguna. But they became chief minister. Sampurnanand was there for chief minister for 2 years before elections took place in and thereafter Narayan Dutt Tiwari was about 4 or 5 months old chief minister when he went to the polls. So was Hemantinand Bahuguna, and they came back to, they resumed office, but shortly thereafter they were also removed. This is going to be a big thing for the BJP. BJP, in fact, if you remember, it was Narendra Modi who broke that BJP jinx, that BJP used to come to power in states like Gujarat, in Madhya Pradesh, or in Rajasthan, but they never got a second chance, a second consecutive term. Narendra Modi broke that jinx in Gujarat. Will Yogi Adityanath bring that jinx in Uttar Pradesh? I think yes. will BJP, would be a big achievement of BJP if BJP comes back to power, which they are going to be returned to the power. Which is my assessment. In terms of number of seats, yes, the numbers I think is going to go down. Akhilesh Yadav's number going to go up. Uttar Pradesh is a big state. Now Prime Minister Modi is an MP from here. When I talk to people, also talk about people who are voting in these elections for Akhilesh Yadav, they say, केंद्र में तो अभी मोदी ही हमें प्रधानमंत्री चाहिए. Modi should continue to be Prime Minister of this country for another term. 2024 is still far away, 2 years from hence. But that is the sentiment out here. I agree that keen contest is going on in many areas, and they should actually, otherwise there is no election. Election, of course, is there. But when you make an overall analysis as to who has to offer what, who is offering what, how much traction that is gaining among people, what kind of people are supporting one party or another party, and if you also have some kind of your own anecdotal and personal experiences in those areas, and therefore I stuck my neck out and said BJP would return to power. BJP is poised to return to power and take that wins, not just zincs. This is going to create history for the BJP. Therefore, these elections have become very critical. When results come on 10th, you are also going, of course, to talk about other states where elections have happened. I don't know, leave those things for that day. But today, of course, and phase 7 is going to decide about the lead as to who is going where. If Akhilesh Yadav gets a respectable number, of course, Akhilesh Yadav will be leader to reckon with in Uttar Pradesh, and also for the opposition coalition at the center in national politics. But that is a question which, an issue which we'll talk about on some other day. Yogi Adityanath, this election, Swami Prasad Maurya, and therefore I said, I particularly talked about Swami Prasad Maurya. Too much of hype was centered around Swami Prasad Maurya when he switched over from that side to this side. This morning, I read somewhere on some news platform as to there was a early morning, some kind of news going on on social media that his son has been detained by Swami Prasad by the police, which police denied, district magistrate denied. So therefore, these are kind of rumors, the kind of news or fake news that circulate on the polling day to make last-minute impression, last-minute kind of mobilization, last-minute switching over of preferences, and therefore elections become elections here in India.
All right, Sanjay, we'll only know because history will be created either ways, whether it's the BJP or the Samajwadi Party. That's political history to talk. We'll only know when on the 10th of March when that last vote is counted. But Abhishek, Sudhir, I want to come to you, but let's quickly listen in to all the other political reactions that are coming in, and we'll cut across to you.
तो 2014 से दावे कर रहे हैं ना. 2014 में बड़ा दावा था, 2017 में बहुत बड़ा दावा था, 2019 में सपा बसपा एक हो गई, फिर मैं मोदी जी के साथ खड़ा हो गया, फिर दावा फेल हो गया. फिर 2022 में आप देखिए, हम अपना दल साथ पार्टी है, बहुत वोट है, जनता सब मोदी के साथ है, वोट पड़ेगा. सब इनके दावे ऐसे फिक्स होते रहे.
4 बार तो मैं ही हरा हूँ, 5वां बार हराने जा रहा हूँ. पूरी जनता तैयार है. महंगाई से, बेरोजगारी से, भ्रष्टाचार से, पुलिस उत्पीड़न से एकदम तबाह हो चुकी है. किसान बेहाल हो चुका है. उसको जहाँ तक भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने कहा था कि फसल दुगुना होगा, और किसान आज बेहाल हो चुका है. दुगुना का हुआ, आधा हो गया.
क्या माहौल लग रहा है?
ऐतिहासिक जितने कार्य हुए 5 साल में, ये 70 साल में लोगों ने नहीं देखा था. वो हम लोगों की जीत के एक बहुत बड़ा कारण बन रहा है, और उससे हम लोग बहुमत का आंकड़ा डाक रहे हैं. ये 6ठे और 7वें फेज में हम लोग 300 के आंकड़े को पार कर जाएंगे.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी 300 के लक्ष्य को प्राप्त करने की ओर अग्रसर होगी. 7वें चरण में यह आंकड़ा 2017 के तर्ज पर रिकॉर्ड बनाता हुआ दिखाई देगा. वंशवाद की राजनीति से, जातिवाद की राजनीति से, मत और मजहब की राजनीति से, माफियावाद और आतंकवाद जैसी दुष्प्रवृत्ति से बाहर निकलना है तो हम मतदान करें.
आपके बेटे को भी कल पुलिस ने अपने थाने में बैठाया, पूछताछ करी है, उन्होंने आरोप लगाया कि कुछ पैसे ऐसे बांटने के बाद। आप कैसे देखते हैं पूरे मामले को?
अब ये भारतीय जनता पार्टी सरकार का नाटक है। पैसा होता तो बरामद होता, कोई अन्य ऐसी चीज जो लोगों को लुभाने वाली होती वो भी होता तो भी बरामद होता। कहीं कुछ है ही नहीं, क्योंकि स्वामी प्रसाद मौर्य का बेटा है, वो क्षेत्र में संपर्क कैसे कर रहा है, पूरा का पूरा योगी जी का निर्देश है।
आपके सामने बीजेपी है और समाजवादी पार्टी है, किसको बड़ी चुनौती मान रहे हैं, बीजेपी को कि सपा को? हाँ,
यहाँ दोनों लोगों की स्थिति बहुत खराब है।
बहुत खराब है।
चाहे
एक ही आपके अकबरपुर सीट से या कि बाकी 4 सीटों का भी यही हाल है?
5 सीटों पर बहुजन समाज के पार्टी के प्रत्याशी ही सबसे नंबर 1 पर हैं और नंबर 1 पे रहेंगे।
ये पार्टियां अभी तक थी जो आज अखिलेश हो या मायावती, वो जातिवाद की बात करती थी, वो तुष्टीकरण की बात करती थी, वो सांप्रदायिकता की बात करती थी। आखिर मुख्तार अंसारी क्या हैं? मुख्तार अंसारी हो, अतीक हो, आजम हो, ये एक टेरर थे, डॉन थे, मतलब पूरा प्रदेश इनसे कांपता था। अकूत संपत्तियां इन्होंने बना रखी थी। बाबा बुलडोजर ने एक बुलडोज किया तो आम जनता ने उसका स्वागत किया।
All right, Abhishek, Sudhir, taking off from what Sanjay Singh said, you know, when you go on ground, the popular opinion seems to be, you say it's a wave, you say even in 2017, nobody knows it's a wave, it's a call that you make post an election. But there's a sense that, you know, that the BJP might pull through or will pull through, but with a slimmer margin this time around. When it comes to Akhilesh Yadav, I want to ask you, Abhishek, this important is pretty much a do or die for him, because if this election, the Samajwadi Party doesn't convert, the onus of that defeat is going to be squarely at his doorstep.
Yeah, I mean, Preeti, I think first of all, it's a battle of perception. I think for many of us, for the last 8 years, we have gotten used to the hegemony, the dominance of the BJP. So for many of us, people like you in the media, people like me, political analysts, for us, the very thought that the BJP can lose UP is in a way unthinkable, because you're like, I mean, at least my personal opinion is the BJP has taken over the country, right? They captured institutions. In terms of right-wing ideologues, you've seen the rise. Hindutva has become mainstream. The image of Veer Savarkar has been resurrected. So today we very much live in a BJP world. We live in a Narendra Modi-centric world. So the thought that the BJP could lose Uttar Pradesh, right? That perception that they can be defeated needs to actually be defeated. So that's what Akhilesh Yadav is doing. I mean, India Today has carried him on the cover, and you've called him the challenger. And that's exactly what he is. He is the challenger. He is mounting a challenge. Today, there is going to be a rally with Mamta Banerjee and the RLD Supremo Jayant Chaudhary with Akhilesh Yadav. So yes, the building blocks for 2024 have already started. Not that 2022 is a foregone conclusion, but Akhilesh Yadav has, in a sense, done a lot for opposition morale, where he says the BJP can be taken on, the BJP can be defeated. Preeti, you're also getting an admission on camera from many people who support the BJP, right, that there will be a loss of seats. People are saying that the BJP will lose seats. In a state like Uttar Pradesh, when you start losing seats in the West, there is no guarantee that that loss of seats will stop in central UP in Awadh or will stop in Purvanchal. And if you lose seats from Noida to Ballia, you lose the state. The language of Yogi Adityanath, if you ask me, is not very confident. He keeps saying Mafiavad, Atankvad, Mukhtar Ansari, Atiq Ahmed keep being brought up. The people of Uttar Pradesh want a positive campaign. 2017, there might have been polarization, but I still believe the 2017 mandate was a mandate for the positive vision of Narendra Modi, when Narendra Modi said Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, when Narendra Modi promised Achhe Din, right? Modi was very much the flavor of the month, the flavor of the season. Come 2022, come 2024 especially, will Narendra Modi still be the man to lead India? That will need to be seen. I agree with Sanjay Singh on one point, that today people see Modi still as the best option in 24, but perhaps the people of Uttar Pradesh, who are a very wise and mature electorate, have realized that if you do not make Akhilesh Yadav the chief minister this time, you will be giving the BJP complete control of both Pradesh and Desh. So the people will probably decide, I feel, that the counterbalance to Modi is Akhilesh in UP. Modi may still return in 24, but 2022, yes, it's do or die for Akhilesh Yadav. As Mr. Ansari said, in politics, if you finish second or third, it doesn't matter. It's politics is about winning. Politics is only about winning. You have to be in power. This would be a third consecutive electoral defeat for Akhilesh Yadav. That would be unthinkable for him. And I believe the people realize that if you have to check the BJP, Akhilesh Yadav needs to become Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh. Otherwise, you're giving the BJP a carte blanche.
All right. Well, belief is, if could carry votes, is a different, situation altogether. But I'll bring in Javed Ansari back into this conversation. Javed, it'd be foolhardy to write political obituaries. But for Akhilesh Yadav, he needs to convert in this election. If he doesn't, it doesn't politically augur well for him.
Well, why just Akhilesh Yadav? What happens?
Yes, even Yogi Adityanath as well. Yes.
Yeah. What about Yogi Adityanath, who's being talked of as a replacement for Prime Minister Narendra Modi? This is what happens. You win one election, you become Chief Minister of UP once, and then everybody, even the last time around in 2012, in 2017, they were talking of Akhilesh Yadav as he's going to be the prime ministerial candidate for the opposition. Baba, first consolidate in this. And a senior congressman who's no more once told me, he says, one reason why Congress didn't repeat chief ministers in UP was because, it sends the largest number of MPs. And then if you repeat the chief minister, he develops a certain headweight and starts thinking of straight looking at New Delhi rather than working in Lucknow. So having said that, yes, a lot of things have come together for the opposition. A lot of things have come together working against the government in power. And if they can't capitalize on it this time, then who knows? These opportunities may not come knocking again, at least in the near future. So Akhilesh Yadav has a stark cut out. He has a mountain to climb. But the BJP had 50 seats in 2012. And who on earth imagined, even Sanjay Singh, my dear friend, who gave a victory speech on behalf of the BJP, would not have predicted that in 2017 they'd make this quantum leap and come to power in such a resounding fashion. It's happened in the past. It can happen now. Whether it's going to happen, we'll only know on the 10th. I can't say with the amount of certainty that Sanjay Singh has been saying, or the gentleman who just spoke before me, that so I can't say with certainty. But yes, there are straws in the wind. There's enough anecdotal evidence from the ground which does suggest that it would not be very surprising if a change happens. That's the extent to which I would go for.
All right, Sanjay Singh, let me bring you in, and as we close, the show, quick comments from all three of you. Sanjay Singh, a lot has been said. Yes, it's an uphill task in terms of just the kind of vote percentage which would be historic for the Samajwadi Party to gain if it has a fighting chance in this particular election. Even, the cliches of BJP losing 100 seats, even then they're on the winning side. But having said that, if the margin of win, and let's get into Panditri here because, we're at the fag end of our bulletin. If the margin is very slim for the BJP and it does win, how comfortable will the position of Yogi Adityanath be then?
In that case, it would be victory for one party and moral victory for another party, as that has happened in Gujarat last time. You know where I'm referring to. In this case, yes, the situation out there, I think a victory for Yogi Adityanath, because when it comes to victory or loss, it is not just Yogi Adityanath, it is also the party. But yes, there are situations where few things about Yogi Adityanath within party and within BJP workers, whosoever I have interacted on ground, not senior leaders, I'm not talking about senior leaders, but while I travel on camp, I see small hutments or small party offices where somebody campaigning for the leader on the bike or in a car. You stop and talk to them, and then you actually get a sense as to what he thinks about his leader and how things are shaping up. Who actually have a voice, and at times their voices are not heard. In terms of slimness of victory or fatness of the victory, yes, there are certain things which needs to be changed here in Lucknow in terms of the way things are functioning, and not so much in the level of governance, but yes, in terms of organizational structure. The thing which Abhishek was talking, just a second on that, I've heard of this on the ground when people say those who are voting for Akhilesh Yadav, and yet there is a mind in their mind that Akhilesh Yadav may not win. They say that we need to put in some extra vigor because Akhilesh Yadav agar abhi nahi aaye, तो वो 10-15 साल तो फिर वो नहीं आ पाएंगे. I said, why are you saying that? Because do you think Yogi Adityanath, if he returns to power, is going to consolidate himself in such a way that he is not going to be removed for another 10 or 15 years? They are not going into those details. But of course, 3 consecutive losses for Akhilesh Yadav. Not just, it's not about the losses, but in all these elections, Akhilesh Yadav changed his life. In 2017, he made Congress an ally. यूपी को ये साथ पसंद है, यूपी के ये लड़के, that you know what happened, that flopped completely. 2019, come 2019, he shook hands with Mayawati, Bua and Babua, and whatever happened, it was actually Mayawati who benefited from that. Mayawati from 0 to 10 to 10, Akhilesh Yadav was at 5 and remained at 5. Samajwadi Party was 5 in 2014, remained at 5 in 2019. If Akhilesh Yadav loses these elections, default gainer in these elections, I think it's Jan Chaudhary, because whatever seats, if you are in an opposition coalition, once you lose, your coalition numbers does not count, your individual tally actually counts. If Akhilesh Yadav loses, this will be third time when he makes so many partners, and there is also people are talking as to why he gave this number of seats to these people on also rights of Prakash Rajbhans. So that acumen, that political sagacity of Akhilesh Yadav would be also scrutinized by the present or prospective partners. And once you become weak, your partners start bargaining for as and when next election takes place. Also within your cadre, people start talking as to was this was a prudent step, because this will be happening for the fourth time. You make allies, make benefit allies, lose your own turf. That is not going to be very healthy. Of course, these things are going to be known on March 10, not before that. But yes, today and phase 7, you have election cut out, and therefore we are talking, we release this, tougher elections, tough fights, and there we actually, as reporters, as analysts, as editors or whatever, we also enjoy talking about it.
All right, I want to quickly cut across to Samarth before I go across to our other two political analysts. Samarth, the latest, you're joining us from Kushinagar, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, I'm reporting from Kushinagar district of Uttar Pradesh, and the vote seems to be distributed among the parties, because it's not just about BJP, SP or Congress. If you talk about it, Kuhiraj, Ajay Kumar Lallu, the UP chief of Congress, is giving a tough fight to BJP and SP, while other two parties are confident of forming government in the state. While if you talk about the most happening seat of Kushinagar, that is Fazil Nagar, after Swami Prasad Maurya's entrance in this particular seat. So there is a MY factor phenomena in this particular area, not just this area but entire Kushinagar. Akhilesh seems very confident, but if we see the bigger picture, as our analysts were speaking about, because it is a do or die situation for Akhilesh Yadav this time, because a lot of work he has put in, Vijay Yatras he has taken on from various districts, almost 75 districts he has covered through his Vijay Yatras, through his rallies. And it is a message from Akhilesh Yadav that if you want the progressive government, then you have to choose Akhilesh. While on the other hand, Yogi Adityanath government has given a sense of security in the form of law and order, providing free ration, providing electricity 24/7 in various villages of Uttar Pradesh. So these are some things, which be it Purvanchal Expressway, Agra Expressway. So there is a stiff competition between these two parties. But as a leader, if we see Akhilesh Yadav growing, he has to win this election. This is a do or die situation. Though from ground, what we see, it is a complete neck-to-neck fight in Uttar Pradesh. There is no cakewalk for any party, be it BJP or SP. We have been in the Vijay Rath Yatras of a Samajwadi Party. We have also covered the Yatras of Yogi Adityanath. But the amount of crowd, or what we say mob of followers of both the parties, there is a drastic difference. In Samajwadi Party, we see a lot of crowd moving around, revolving around the bus of Akhilesh Yadav. But when we come to the BJP rally, the crowd is much, but not as much as compared to Akhilesh. There could be two reasons. Number one, the popularity of Akhilesh Yadav as a person. Number two, what we see as a major reason behind that, because BJP has spread the campaigning in few phases, because we see Rajnath Singh, JP Nadda, Narendra Modi, Yogi Adityanath, when all these leaders are Smriti Irani also, when all these leaders are campaigning, then yes, there is a sense that the mob or the crowd of followers will be distributed among the rallies. So there could also be this conclusion, because of which why the number of people arriving in the rallies of both the parties there is a proper difference. But what it seems from the ground, it is a competition for Akhilesh versus Yogi. In 2017, when BJP formed government, it was the Modi led, it was the face of Prime Minister Narendra Modi when people of Uttar Pradesh voted for BJP. And earlier in 2012, it was the face of Mulayam Singh Yadav when people voted for Samajwadi Party. So this time, it is about Akhilesh. It is all about Akhilesh and it is all about Yogi Adityanath. So this fight is much
right, clearly it's a bipolar contest, and when you talk about crowds, one other big factor is Akhilesh is the only star campaigner when it comes to the Samajwadi Party. The BJP has many faces as well. We're going to continue going back to our reporters, but let's take a quick word in from our analyst Abhishek Sudhir and Javed Ansari. Abhishek, 6 phases will be done by this evening 6 p.m. The 7th phase would be left. How do you see things pan out?
Well, Samarth is coming to us from Kushinagar, which is on the Buddhist circuit. And Kushinagar is where the Buddha attained nirvana, he breathed his last. And I think this election for all of us is going to be about acceptance. Buddhism, acceptance is a key factor of Buddhism, key feature of Buddhism. So I think we have to accept the verdict of the people with all humility. If the people decide to bring back the BJP, it means that they still feel that 40% of the electorate will feel, because of our first past the post system, that the BJP is still required, the BJP should still rule Uttar Pradesh and India. If they decide to bring back Akhilesh Yadav, then that again is a verdict I hope the BJP will accept with all humility. I think Akhilesh Yadav, as you said, is the star campaigner. He has a pan-UP presence. The significance of a loss for Yogi Adityanath also needs to be talked about. Yogi Adityanath has not been able to build a pan-UP image. I come from the South, Preeti. I can tell you that Yogi Adityanath is extremely popular in Karnataka with the BJP base. He's very popular outside UP, funnily enough. But has he built a pan-UP image? I would say that is still up for debate. If he wins a second term, he will then definitely become a legitimate challenger to the Prime Minister as well in 2029, perhaps, or earlier if Narendra Modi decides to retire. So just to sum up, I would just say that the people have to decide. If they decide that Akhilesh Yadav needs to return as Chief Minister as a counterbalance to the BJP, I think that would be the wisdom of the electorate. We have to accept it. Is it do or die? Preeti, every election is do or die. The job of politics, you are in politics to be in power. If you're not in power, it's die for you. And if you are in power, you must do. So it is my hope that the people of Uttar Pradesh will choose wisely and all will be revealed on March.
Javed, we talk so much about the permutation combinations, but Akhilesh would actually need a wave to come into power, which Abhishek Sudhir has seen that wave. Sanjay seen it otherwise for the BJP. But, and that wave would require for Akhilesh Yadav that the BJP loses over 3% vote share of the 41% it had in 2017. That's quite improbable if you look at it on paper. It's an uphill task. It's just, to say the least.
Yeah, but what happened in 2017, Preeti? In 2012, BJP had 50 seats. And in 2017, they met that quantum jump and they're now, and they won handsomely. So if it can happen for the BJP, why are we ruling it out that it can happen against the BJP also? We'll know for sure only on the 10th. I would limit myself to saying, I was arguing that theoretical part. I will limit myself to saying that it's a close-fought election. There are anecdotal evidence from the ground suggests that there are straws in the wind, but whether that turns into a whirlwind come 10th of March, we'll have to wait till then. And I'm not brave enough to stick my neck out now after I've close to 4 decades in this profession to say for sure, because I don't know. Maybe Abhishek ji and Sanjay ji know better, but I don't know better. I don't know enough to say definitely with certainty that a particular side is winning. I would again say that yes, there are straws in the wind, but let's wait for March 10th.
Well, you're right there. Both Abhishek and Sanjay Singh have, stuck their neck out. They've treaded in that area where very few political analysts fear to tread. One of them is going to be wrong. Which one is that? We'll only know come the 10th of March. Appreciate all three of you for joining us. Thank you, gentlemen. Our rolling coverage online covering the election sixth phase in Uttar Pradesh continues through the course of the day. We're going to keep coming back for more. Do stay with us.